sure that you're good? Okay, thank you. Okay, so thanks so much for coming. You guys should have a little packet that you saw. In it is a little handout like this. My name is Andrea Schulman. I am a law of attraction educator and coach. I run a website called Raise Your Vibration Today. It is a law of attraction education resource website. Some of you guys know about the law of attraction, some of you it's new to, so hopefully I can kind of bridge the gap on what it is and what it is that you can use from it. Oh, I'm gonna come in.
Did we knock them out?
Come on in. Go ahead and find a spot, Christina, anywhere you want to be. Okay. All right, so that's me. Besides doing a website, I also do law of attraction coaching. I work with people one-on-one, so they can use the law of attraction to create some of the things that they want in their life. And I do work with people really all around the world through Skype and over the phone. I've got clients here in the United States, India, Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand. So I am familiar with helping people one-on-one on this topic, and I want to share some of this information with you. My goal for 2016 was to take working in a website and coaching with people one-on-one and take it to the next step and start doing public speaking. And so this is actually my very first public speaking seminar, and I'm very excited. Thank you. I'm so excited that I'm here and able to do that because this is really just a dream realized for me. And so I want to help you guys find a dream in 2016 that you can reach for and move towards as well. Okay. My friend here, Jeannie, in the back, stand up, Jeannie, real quick so everyone can see you. This is Jeannie, and she is the one that owns this beautiful yoga studio. When I was thinking about how am I going to start this public speaking idea, I didn't know how to go about it. And this was in December, okay? I just started planning this recently. And what I do when I don't know what to do is I just kind of put it out there. I'll figure it out when it happens, and I let it happen. And so one day I was ironically doing yoga in my living room, and it suddenly just hit me. Oh, I have a friend named Jeannie. She has a studio. Maybe she would like to do something like this, some kind of a free event, so people that she knows, people that I know can come together and kind of learn about this process. And I texted Jeannie, and she wrote back to me. She goes, I was hoping you'd ask me if we could do this. So it was meant to be, and I'm very thankful to Jeannie for having us here. In case you didn't hear already, after this, she is also doing a laughing yoga class. So if you've got your yoga pants on and you want to stick around to do that, absolutely do. But we will probably be wrapping this up at about 3:30 to move on to her laughing yoga class. Okay? All right, so that's introductions. Okay. Oh, besides that, I also wanted to mention, Jeannie is a licensed massage therapist, and she also does Kavi Lipo. If you don't know what that is, it's like non-invasive liposuction. So if you have some areas you want to smooth out, make sure to talk to her. I've done it before, it works. I have several friends in here that do it, and it works. So just so you know, put that out there for you. Okay, so I already asked a few of you if you knew what the law of attraction was. It kind of looked like half and half. Some people knew about it, some people did not. What I'm going to go through in this seminar, in this workshop, is I'm going to explain what the law of attraction is. I'm going to try and explain to you how it works. And then I'm going to try and give you some ideas on how you can apply it to your life to create desired results, to get the things that you want, okay? That's basically the plan. So in your little packet here, again, there is a kind of a PowerPoint here. I am a former high school psychology teacher, so this may come across very teacher-ish, and I apologize, it's just the way that I am and the way that I do things. But one thing that I learned when I was teaching, and actually I have a friend here that's also a teacher, she's in the back over there named Sandy, we're both psychology teachers. One thing that we learned as teachers was that people learn better through a variety of means. Some people learn well through listening, some people learn well through reading or through looking, and some people learn well through doing. So as a teacher, I always try to do all three of those things in my class, because the more that you do, the easier it is for you to learn and understand and stay engaged and have fun. Okay, so I'm trying to do some of that with this packet here, all right? With this packet, on the left-hand side, you have an area, if you want to take notes, feel free to. Not everything I'm going to talk about is in this packet. It's just kind of a highlight of, a guidepost. But on the left-hand side, in the slides, you'll see that in some areas, like on the bottom here, there's empty space where you can write stuff in, okay? Now, if you would like to, when I give you the answers to these, or if they are think of them yourself questions, write the answers to them in here. They're all very short answers. They're all very simple answers. But at the end of the seminar, we're going to find out who all finished this packet, and and enter you guys in to win a surprise prize, okay? So fill out the answers, they're very simple, easy to do, and at the end, we'll find out who is aligned with the surprise prize with the law of attraction, okay? All right, let's get going. So, at the bottom here, it says, what is the law of attraction, okay? Now, I know some of you know what the law of attraction is, and some of you do not. I would like for you, regardless of whether you know it or not, to come up with a definition based off of whatever limited knowledge you have about it. You may be very clear on what it is, you may have no clue. If you have no clue, take a stab at it, okay? But on your own, try and write down just a brief explanation of what you think it is. And you can write on that slide, or you can write it on the extra lines on the right. There's no extra points for getting it right, so it's all right if you get it wrong. Seconds to wrap it up as best you can. Okay. Whatever you got's good. All right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pair you off with someone close to you. What I want you to do with that person is I want you to tell them what your definition is and hear what definition they have. And between the two of you, or the three of you, if we have an odd number, I'm not quite sure, I want you to decide which one do you think is the closest approximation to what the definition actually is. Okay, so between the two of you, I want you to figure out which definition is, do you think, the more accurate, okay? Two here, here, sisters here. Yeah, we'll do these two here, that's perfect. You two. And we will do two, and then we'll group of three here, okay? So go ahead and share with your partner.
I'll partner in on this combo. Just put energy attracts like energy, like whatever you're vibrating, that's what the device is. This one out this we're all there. That is the law of the universe, and we're putting in the universe will happen exactly energy, probably energy, positivity. We're all inside, energy attracts. Mine's just sync. It's the energy attracts like energy. So whether it's negative or positive, that is true. We're users. We're going with that. We're going with it. Let's Google it. Right? It's on her way. She's coming. She's and Kathy got in the I had to jump in the truck. There's a lot of traffic there too. She's so nice. Yeah, I had to go turnpike too. Turnpike groups. No. Have you ever? Like, have you ever? She's like, I'm just not doing it. I got on the turnpike too. Yeah, it's definitely I was about 20 minutes late. My point. Oh yeah, no deals. Yeah.
Okay, have we all decided who had the better one? You all decided who had the better one? Take one. Okay. All right, let me ask a question real quick. Between you and your partner, show of hands, how many people think that between your partnership, somebody had a somewhat decent response to what this question is? All right, good. Of those people that had their hands raised, does anybody want to share that definition with us? Anyone want to take a stab at it?
Share it. You have a good one.
We'll take both yours. I'll start over here. Debbie, right?
Right.
All right, Debbie.
Visualization, put it out there to the universe and it will happen.
Perfect. So visualizing what you want, put it out there, it comes back to you.
It's just energy attracts like energy.
Perfect. Those are great, really awesome definitions, okay? So if you had something, does anybody have a different one they wanna check?
Ours was kind of along the same
Mhm.
line, but we were saying adjusting that energy to align with the things that you want. So like adjusting the things that you believe, adjusting the way that you feel to kind of align with the things that you want to
Yep.
attract.
Absolutely, great. Anybody else?
Sure. I said energy attracts energy, therefore intention and focus create reality.
Very good, very detailed answer. Excellent. Use the bonus
Skip
points.
one. Just kidding.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have, what you see and what you feel is what you're attracted to, so you attract what you wanna be around.
You guys said you didn't know it. So now you
I
know.
know.
Perfect.
We're
You
getting
attracted the answer to you, so you're good. You're good. Okay.
Can I just add one important thing?
Sure.
This is a law of the universe. No
Thank
matter
you.
what we do, it is going to unfold this way.
It's not
So
optional.
if you're not conscious, you are still creating.
Thank you. That's true. It is a law. It is a universal law. Excellent point. All good answers. So it sounds
I
like
get
you
brownie points too,
You
you
get,
know?
I'm sorry.
Brownie
Two
points.
plus points. You're good.
There's just like halo over here, energy, come on
You
there.
gotta give the one guy a little extra attention here.
Exactly, he'll run,
Center
yeah.
stage.
Okay, show of hands real quick. Have any of you guys seen The Secret? Just asking. Okay. So some of you have seen it. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a really great explanation. It's also a book, explanation of the law of attraction. But one of the things that they say in The Secret is that thoughts become things. So you may have heard that before. So if I'm thinking about something, I can basically will it into reality. So if I'm thinking about starting a job as a law of attraction coach, I can put that thought out there and I can have that manifest into my reality. And if you think about it, that is kind of like how your life probably unfolds. Everything that you have is something you kind of thought of. Well, I thought about getting married, and I thought about having a kid, and I thought about working at this job, and I thought about buying that pair of shoes. It all kind of happens that way. It's just sometimes we don't realize that that's a universal law. It isn't really optional, okay? It's something that's going on all the time. Now, thoughts become things is something a lot of people say for the definition, but I have a different definition, okay? And I want to give you this definition. It's a very simple definition. It's not a bonus point definition, okay? It's very simple, but it is the second empty spot down here for you if you want to fill it in. And what I want you to write down in that section is you get what you expect and or believe. You get what you expect and or believe. Come on in. You want? It's up to you.
It's about learning your thoughts create things, and you create desired results in your life. You're changing the thoughts in your mind. If you decide you want to, look out for space.
I know, I was thinking, never mind.
My granddaughter.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's
We
what I
met
said.
before.
Did we?
I've met you.
There, pull your chair back.
So she was outside. I gotta point this out.
No, back. Here, pull back.
So this lady was outside. I just want to point this out.
I will.
And I saw her standing there, and I thought she might
I
have
thought, where did
put in here.
Yeah, I know.
So I walked out there, and I said, "Are you here for the summer?" I said, "No. What's it about?" Well, maybe I should come. Yeah. Well, maybe it's a sign. Maybe it was meant to be. I'm like, well, I think it is. I had any grandkids up for you.
Anyway, she said.
Go ahead and have a seat. We have a packet that you can kind of fill out if you want to. And if you fill out the whole thing, you get a prize. So feel free to go along with that if you want. All right, so the definition that I gave to law of attraction is that you get what you expect and or believe. And the reason that I make that distinction over thoughts become things is because a lot of times people think the law of attraction just means thoughts become things. So I can sit down and think about what I want and it should come to me. But it doesn't always work out that way because it isn't just your thoughts that matter. It is your energy or your belief or your expectation behind that thought that matters. So if I'm sitting down, I want to say, I want to win the Powerball, okay? And I sit down, I close my eyes, and I ask for the Powerball. I'm not going to lie, I tried it. It didn't work for me. Okay? And I sit down and I try to will it into place. That focus is great, okay? But if I don't have that expectation in my heart that it's going to occur, what actually happens is I end up pushing it away from me. Your expectation is what will either draw you to a thought or move you away from a thought. So you have to have positive expectation. It isn't just thoughts. And I make that distinction because a lot of people get turned off by the law of attraction because they say, well, hey, I sat down and did a bunch of visualizations and I never won the Powerball, so it must not work. Well, it did work because it gave you what you expected, and you didn't expect to win the Powerball. Okay, so today we're going to talk about not just how do you focus your thoughts, but more importantly, how do you manage your expectations so that if you want something, you can focus on it properly and align yourself toward it. Okay? All right, so we finished up our first page here. You guys did great. Do a quick time check here. Yep, we're doing good. All right, so top of this page, we say, what can you create in your life with the law of attraction? You can create really anything. Okay? You can create love if you're looking for a partner, romantic partner, husband or wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. You can create friendships. In fact, some of my friends that are sitting here in this room, I did intend to become friends with, just so you know. I don't know if they know who they are, but you were attracted. Hi, Sonia. Come on in. Have a seat. Career, what I'm doing right now. Okay. Success, prosperity, health. Some people like to try and apply it to, get over health conditions or lose weight, feel better about themselves, well-being, really anything. Big things and small things. You can use it to attract more convenience into your life. If you don't like traffic and you want traffic to move a little bit smoother for you, you can use the law of attraction to help manage traffic. You can use it to help find good deals at the grocery store. Every day that I go grocery shopping, a good chunk of the items I go looking for are on sale, and that is by design because my friends know I used to be a couponer. I'm kind of crazy about deals and discounts. So for me, I love to attract that kind of stuff to me. So you can attract big things and small, all right? What I'd like you to do real quick is if you could write over here on the right-hand side, I'd like you to write down, if there was one thing that you could attract into your life using the law of attraction today, what's that one thing? What's that one big thing that you would use it for? I know there's not space for that in there, but just write it on the right-hand side. And I just want you to write it down. Because part of the law of attraction is asking for what you want. It's a good idea to just jot it down real quick. Alright, so we're going to just leave that there for now. We're going to come back to that in a little bit. I just want you to jot down, you could have one thing, what would that one thing be? Alright, so now we've kind of defined what the law of attraction is, what you can use it for to attract things into your life, and we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this, which is how it actually works. So to do this, I'm going to talk a lot about how reality is constructed. And I want to point out that I'm not doing this as a scientist, and I'm not doing this as a religious advocate. That's not really the way I'm coming about it. If you agree with me, great. If not, that's cool too. I'm going to explain to you the way that it's been interpreted by me, how I've learned it, and the answers that have come to me that have helped me make sense of how this works so that I can apply it to my life. Okay, and hopefully you'll get some sense out of it too. But again, I'm not a scientist, and this isn't a religious point. Okay?
And we're gonna recap on this whole traffic thing, cause you're gonna tell me how to part the traffic on 460, so I get home, okay. We're gonna need an example on that.
And
We're
yeah,
gonna
if
will
you've got
that to
questions, like
happen.
specific questions about there's something I really want to attract, absolutely at the end we can certainly talk about that individually or as a group if we still have time. Okay, so think about the questions that you have. All right, so I have a question here. There's nothing you need to write down for it, but under this second box I wrote down, how big is the universe? Anybody think they know?
I say as big as you're aware.
As big as you're aware. I heard infinite. Okay. Now the truth is, science doesn't really know how big the universe is, but it appears that the general consensus is it's infinite. We don't know how it began. We don't know where it ends. It's believed that possibly at some point there was a big bang. Who knows what caused it? And it caused the universe to expand and roll out, and it's still moving outward, moving outward, moving outward. Now, if the universe is infinite, basically that means that anything is possible, okay? If it's infinite, there's not just one Earth. How many Earths are there? Infinite number of Earths. There's not just one of you. How many of you are there? Infinite number of you. It's kind of out there kind of idea, but just hang with me. I want you to think about the possibility that from this moment right here, this frame of reality where you're standing right here, there are an infinite number of directions that you could go. Okay, so right now we're sitting in a reality where you're sitting in this yoga studio, you're looking at me, I'm entertaining you. There's a nice little sign up here, a little own sign for you to look at. I'm wearing a black shirt, I'm wearing purple pants. But in a world of infinite possibility, the next moment that you jump to could look different, conceivably, if anything is possible. I could be wearing black pants and a purple top. We could be sitting at a different type of studio altogether. I could be a man, not a woman, okay? You could suddenly change the clothes that you're wearing. There's an infinite number of things that could happen. And we're gonna talk a lot about how you manage this concept of infinites, because I think if you understand that literally anything is possible, it makes it easier for you to believe that there's a way for you to get to the reality that you want to get to. Okay, so we're gonna hold on to that thought for just a moment. The universe is infinite, okay? The second point that I think is important to understand when you're understanding the law of attraction is understanding what created this universe that we lived in, okay? Now, again, I'm a scientist, this isn't a religious statement, okay? But a lot of people in the world have basically come up with a name to explain what created the universe. Some people call it God, some people call it source energy, some people call it higher power, some people call it all that is, some people say the universe, which is what I usually end up saying. But a lot of people have a way of explaining that there is one infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing creator, okay? And the thing about this is that the root of whatever this all-powerful creator is one thing, and that is consciousness. Does anybody here know what the word consciousness means? Be aware. Awareness. Awareness, perfect. Okay, so that's one of your questions here. What is consciousness? It's your thoughts and your awareness. Okay, so the way that this information has been received by me is to say that consciousness is what has created this infinite reality. Okay? Consciousness is thought. Consciousness is awareness. Okay? And there's a number of different names that people give this consciousness. And so I have another question down here. What's the name that you would give to the infinite, all-powerful creator of consciousness? Why don't you go ahead and jot it down if you already have one. If you don't, go ahead and make up a name for it if you like. Okay? But make a connection to this idea that there is a consciousness out there that has created this infinite reality that we live in. Just jot down yours. Okay. Now, a lot of people have decided that consciousness has created the universe, maybe as God, maybe as source energy. Maybe you haven't, maybe you haven't. But a lot of people have kind of decided that that's what's happening. There's this big, infinite, all-powerful thing that's creating everything else. What a lot of people haven't realized is that you yourself are consciousness. Okay? And how do you know that you are consciousness? Does anybody think they could take a stab at this question? How could you know that you too? What's that? Feeling. You have feelings? Yeah. You have thoughts. You have awareness. You have that, do you not? You're able to think. You're able to be aware. You have this life where you're seeing things. And so what does this basically mean? That means that an infinite creator is all around us, okay? This conscious creator is all around us. But you, each of us, is like a stream of that infinite consciousness, okay? So you are, in part, that creator. And your job is actually to expand the universe. How? Through your thoughts. You create ideas, and that expands the universe. That creates new realities. That creates new things that we can experience and do. And that, the way I've come to understand it, is why the universe continues to expand. Because we keep adding to it through our thoughts and awareness. Does that make sense?
That's interesting.
Okay. So I like to explain it that way, because I think if you understand that you're connected to the process, it's not a process that's really happening to you that you're, having to respond to. It's really a process that you yourself are very actively engaged in, and you're very important to the process. Okay? All right. All right, let's move on. Go a little deeper down the rabbit hole in case I haven't, confused you enough here yet. If you look on the next page, I have a question. How does the law of attraction work? And I say you are made up entirely of energy. The last part that I really want to make about this that I think is important goes back to some of the definitions some of us had before about your energy, okay? Now, if you were to take us and break us down to our most basic parts, at the root of what we are is just energy. Okay, so if we were to take your body and zoom into your cells, zoom into your atoms, zoom into your subatomic parts, your protons, your neutrons, your quarks, and you just keep going down as far as you can, at the root of what we are is energy. Okay, and science actually does support that. Okay, at the root of you, you are just energy. And your energy is no different than the energy of this wall. It's no different than the energy of the person sitting next to you. It's no different than anywhere else. That basic building block of what you are is the same person to person to person to person. So why we look different, and why we sound different, why we have different experiences, it's not because we're made up of different things. It's because the movement of our energy is different. And that's something called your energy vibration. All energy moves, okay? And it's kind of like when you learn in elementary school the difference between a solid, a liquid, and a gas, okay? Remember that? They talked about the particles of ice. They're kind of, they move very slowly and they're stuck together, they're very close together, so it gives that appearance that it's that firm, solid substance. And then if the particles start moving a little faster, what happens? What happens to the solid? It melts and it becomes a liquid, and that liquid moves a little bit more freely. And if you make those particles go even faster, what happens? It becomes gas, and it's very ethereal, and it's all over the place, and it moves quite a bit, okay? Now, energy within you moves the same way. You have a range of energy frequencies within your body, okay? And how you are projecting that energy dictates who you are, where you are in reality, and what's going on in your life, okay? So that's a point that I wanted to make to you. Understand that you are made up of one thing, and that is energy. And you actually have the power to adjust your energy if you want to go to a slightly different place, okay? All right, now moving on to the next thing here. It says there's a few ways to test your energy vibration. And this is important because we're going to talk more about your energy vibration as we move forward, okay? Because it's very much attached to the law of attraction. If you want to know how your energy is doing, there's two major ways that you can look into it. The first one is through your emotions, okay? When your energy vibration is moving relatively high, it makes you feel a particular way. It makes you feel joyful, elated, excited, connected, okay? Why is this? Well, there's an infinite, all-powerful creator, right, that we are a part of. And when our energy is moving very high, it's like we're well connected to that energy, and it's flowing through us very easily. Okay, and some people call that like being in the flow. Like when you have a singer who's singing, and it's just flowing right through them. They're not trying, they're not efforting, it's just coming right through them. In that moment, that singer has a high vibrational energy, and the energy is just flowing through them easily. When somebody's energy is low, they have the absolute opposite side when it comes to feelings. So they feel dark, they feel down, they feel low, they feel lethargic. And they're still connected to that all-powerful consciousness, but instead of it being like this wide funnel where it's flowing through them, it's kind of like it's been pinched off a little bit. Okay, and the energy's still coming through them. They still have thoughts, they still have awareness, they're still creating things, but they don't have that massive flow of energy where everything kind of snaps into place. Okay? So one way you can test your vibration is by monitoring your emotions. And when you feel really good, understand that you're well connected to that energy and it's flowing through you, making you a much more efficient creator to create the things that you want in your life. Okay? The other way that you can test your vibration, I said reality checks. Okay? The reason I put this down is that when you are well connected to the energy of the universe and it's flowing through you really well, you're in the process of creating things very quickly and very easily. And things snap into place really quick. So if you look around your reality and see what's going on, you can tell how connected you are. Okay, so right now, I wanted to have a seminar with people. I was hoping for 15. I got more than 15. That's a good sign. I was hoping everybody would be awake. Everyone's awake. Everyone appears to be paying attention. That's a good sign. If I were to look out to the audience and everyone was sleeping and bored and not having a good time, that would be a sign to me that I'm not as connected as I would like to be. Okay, so you can always look out into your reality to decide, how connected am I? Am I in the process of creating the things that I want? Or am I in the process of kind of pinching myself off from my want and creating some things that I don't necessarily want? Okay? So do those two things. If you want to monitor your energy, check your feelings and check your reality. Okay? All right. We're going to talk a lot today about how you get yourself in that more connected space so that you can create the things that you want. Okay? Because a lot of times we get stuck in that low vibration and we feel very stuck, like we can't do anything about it. There's actually a number of things that you can do to, bring it on in and be able to apply it more to your life. Okay? All right, the last little frame on this particular page, it says, how do you arrive in a particular reality? okay? Now, like I said before, you're made of energy, and so is everything else in the universe. It's all made up of the same energy. And every reality has its own specific vibrational frequency. It all does. Okay, there's a particular vibrational frequency of this particular room. And in order to get here, the way that you get to a particular reality is that your frequency must match the frequency of wherever reality you want to go to. Is there any way we can turn down the AC a little bit? Turn it down a little, like make it colder? Yeah. Is that cool? Yeah? All right. I get going and I get sweaty. I don't want to be sweating all over myself. All right. The way that a lot of people, yeah, exactly. The way a lot of people have explained this with the law of attraction is that if you want to get somewhere, it's like you have to tune into it. So the analogy I've heard a lot that makes a lot of sense to me is that when you go to listen to the radio, if you want to listen to 96.5, you have to dial to the frequency of 96.5 in order to hear that station. You understand that, okay? To dial to that frequency to listen to 96.5. When I'm dialed into 96.5, I can't hear what's going on 101.7. That's not coming through. I'm only getting what's on 96.5. Now, the funny thing about this is that sound travels and has its own vibrational frequency. So the way the radio works is exactly how your life works. Okay, if you want to have a particular reality, you have to dial into that particular reality. How do you do it? You get your energy to match the energy of the place that you want to go. Okay? So that's how you arrived here today. For whatever reason, you are a vibrational match to being in this room right at this time, at this moment. Okay? All right. That's how it's happening. A lot of people say that this is like attracts like. That's where the law of attraction kind of gets its name. Okay? I attract what I am. So I am the kind of person that would show up at a place like this, so that's why I'm here. Okay? All right. Now, one last thing I want to mention about this. A lot that's going on in your reality is happening through your thought and awareness, but it's not all necessarily stuff that you're focusing on right now. So you might be wondering, like, well, if I create everything, how did I create all this stuff that's going on? Because I didn't think about the weather today, and I didn't think about the color of the cars that are around me, and I didn't think about, what was going to happen when I got here. How did I create all of that? Okay? The way that I've come to understand that is that a lot that's going on is actually created through something called your subconscious. Okay? Sandy, do you know what subconscious is? I know you know what subconscious is. How would you explain it?
The thoughts, feelings below the surface.
Right.
Freud.
Yeah. Psychologists kind of believe that you have this primary focus that you're aware of right now. So like right now, you're focused in on what I'm saying and you're with me. But behind the surface, there's a lot of other thoughts that are going on in your subconscious that you're not necessarily aware of. Okay, so your subconscious handles a lot of the details of what's going on. On some level, you probably expected that it'd probably be sunny today because it's Florida and that's likely that that could happen. Okay, on some level, you probably expected that you'd be wearing the clothes that you're wearing today. It was kind of back there in the background. Okay, so even if you're not fully aware of something and focused on it, your subconscious handles a lot of the details, and that's a really important thing to understand as we move forward. Okay? All right, moving on. All right, now, that's how you arrive in a reality today. But let's say that you want to go to a different reality. Okay? And let's say that you want to go to a place that you've never been before, and maybe you don't have a lot of expectation about being able to get there. Okay, so maybe there's something that you want, but you don't necessarily believe that it's possible for you to get it. Okay? All right. There's a few things I would recommend. Okay? The first thing is that if there's a place that you want to go, and maybe that place on that first page when we talked about what you want to attract, if there's a place you want to go, kind of the first step is to imagine what that place would be like. Okay? What would that place be like? What would it look like, sound like, smell like, taste like? What would it feel like if I were to show up in that place? Okay? Now, finding out what it feels like is really the most important thing. Because again, your energy has to match the place of where you're going. So if the place that you're going is going to make you feel happy, you got to be happy now to get to that place. If the place you want to go is going to make you excited, you have to be excited now to get to that place. Okay? So that's kind of the mechanism. Now, the second thing I have in here, I say is let go of the thought if it is upsetting in some way. After you have imagined the place that you want to go and the feeling that you're going to need to get there, if it's something big that you haven't created yet, haven't experienced, it's a really good idea to drop that thought and let it go. The reason why is that if it hasn't shown up in your reality yet and you really want it, chances are you've been saying to yourself, when is this thing going to show up? Why hasn't this thing happened to me yet? Why am I not been able to create this in my reality? Why is it not happening for me? When is it gonna happen? It happens for everybody else. Does it happen for me? When's it gonna happen for me? When's it gonna happen for me? When's it gonna happen for me? And then you're projecting a vibration that says, it's not gonna happen for me. And then what happens?
It doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen for you. Okay? So if there's something you really, really want, harping on the thought of it and visualizing it is probably the absolute worst thing that you can do. Visualize it once clearly, add to it if you want to once in a while if it feels good to think about it, but if it's making you anxious or upset, drop the subject. And instead of focusing on that thought, go back to the feeling. What was the feeling I thought I was going to get when I showed up there? Oh, I thought it was going to make me happy. Okay, well, I'm not necessarily happy about this thing that hasn't happened yet, but there's lots of things I can be happy about in my reality. There's lots of things I can focus on that would make me feel happy, so I'm emitting that frequency of being happy so I can show up in that reality that I created through my thoughts. Does that make sense? Okay, so your feelings are really, really important. All right, now I want to get you guys to do something independently because I think that I can sit here and talk to you all day because I love this stuff, but it isn't necessarily going to make a difference to you if you don't see it in your life and you don't see it working for you. So we're going to do a quick activity for you. We're going to get you to attract something in your life, okay? And it's going to be simple. It's going to be easy. For you, it's probably going to work because it works for me every time I try and do this, all right? Let me check the time real quick. Yeah, we're doing good. Okay, on this section for the second box where it says Law of Attraction Visualization Activity, I want you to think of 2 random objects, and they have to be objects that do not evoke a lot of emotion out of you. So maybe a button, or a heart, or a squirrel, or a telephone, something that's like a very random object. It's an object you've seen before, you know, but it doesn't evoke a lot of emotion out of you, okay? 2 things, and jot them down. Oh, and yeah, keep them to yourself, so don't share them with anybody yet. We will share them in a moment. But for now, I want you to just put down a couple for yourself. Any little things will do. 2 little random things. Does anybody need more time? You good? Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to do a quick visualization exercise for these 2 things. Okay? You're going to spend some time focusing on them. I'm going to have you guys close your eyes for a moment. I'm going to lead you through a series of questions that I want you to think about. Okay? Now, some people are really good at visualizing. So if I ask someone to visualize, you know, a heart, they can see it very clearly in their mind. Some people, they don't necessarily see it as easily. So if I ask you a question, you can't really see it in your mind. Just go with it and ask yourself the question and think about the answer to that question. Okay, so even if it doesn't pull into focus for you, think about the answer to that question in your mind. Okay, we're going to do this with 2 objects, and we're going to start with the first one. We'll get done with this, and we'll come to the second one in a moment. So whatever object you put for number 1, we're going to work with that one. Okay, so do me a favor and close your eyes. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Okay, we're going to clear out anything that's going on. Nice, easy breaths. So now I want you to think about that object that you wrote down in number 1, and I want you to picture it in your mind or think about it as well as you can. Now I want you to think about how big is it? I also want you now to focus on what color or colors is it? Now I want you to think about, does it make any sounds? And if it does make a sound, what would that sound like? All right, now I want want you to think about, if you could touch this object, what would it feel like? One last thought for you. I'd like you to think about, if you can, remember a time that you saw this object in your past. If you can. If you can't, just think about the object a little bit more, however you can. All right, go ahead, open your eyes. Good job, you guys focused on that for about a minute. That's what you wanna do. Think about it, we put it into our mind, we've given it some good attention, okay? Now, we're gonna do one more thing, because this can be really helpful. We're gonna talk about it a little bit, because it's always a good idea to kind of verbalize what's going on. When we talk about the things that we're thinking about, we increase the likelihood that they come to our lives. So I want you to talk to that person that you paired up with a few moments ago, and tell them, both of you, tell them what your object was, what it looked like, what it smelled like, tasted like, touched like, and then listen to your partner do the same. All right, go ahead and talk to them. What's a door?
Store. A red door was specifically a red door. You don't think about all the different ones. A word is a red door. I wrote pencil. And like if I did said like red is almost like I'm just like all these different pencils, you know, and they all have different smell and that's comfortable and forever. That was odd that you only saw the red door that you could see striking the ground out loud or like down close to the garden. Right, no, but still, that's all that it's on grass. Smell good like that, the sound of it makes something nice. I said, well, I did see, I never saw mechanical pencil. I did see some of the oversized ones sometimes, like, I did see some of those, but yeah, I think it's hard to tell me.
This doesn't go in the
Weight erasers and all that, I saw the sharp now, I put it on.
because you said the bunny.
Yeah, that's what you, yeah, weight Just red, but it was wood. With a window. It is, it was double door. Oh, wow. That's very, very, like, stately.
So maybe I think you don't.
I was like, I have to believe I'm attracted to shoes. Yes, she did.
She has the, biotechnology and the molecular research, thing about ongoing, so hopefully it's whatever she needs, whatever.
All right, sounds like we got through our object, yes? Okay, good. All right, we're gonna try it with one more, because I think we have a couple. This would be a little bit more fun to see if we can track two things instead of one, okay? So I want us to do the same thing again, all right? So you're gonna go ahead, close your eyes, but we're gonna think about object number 2, okay? Object number 2. Now, think about whatever it looks like in your mind's eye. If you can't visualize it, then whatever kind of thoughts come to you, think about it. Okay, again, I want you to think about how big is object number 2. All right, think about what color or colors is object number 2. If object number 2 makes a sound, imagine what that sound would sound like. could touch object number 2, what would it feel like? And finally, if you can think back to a time when you've seen this object before, think back to that time. And if you can't, just keep imagining what that object would look like or feel like to you. Alright, good. So go ahead and open your eyes. One more time. Tell your partner. We'll share it with each other one more time.
A lamp? Was that like a, okay, wait, was it just like a regular wood kind of lamp, like a table lamp, or like a? Okay, so I have the glass thing with all the design, like the stained glass thing. Okay, okay. Okay, turn it off and off, Station wagon. Because I picture the old Woodies, like with the rattling, and then I was picturing like, you know, for some reason they're not under taking a long time to turn over, but that's good. I do love it. I know, that's how your grandmother's daughter was in my jar as well.
What color is it? Oh, you feel like it's.
When you picture different lamps, you can picture like a
I picture the thing, it's a pillow that's all my friends have, and I left it at my friend's house.
I think that's my biggest
Shortest number one. Just outside first. It's got 3 ones. One here and one here.
Take it apart.
This thing you always do when
Yeah. Actually, it was me. I was supposed to get here 2 hours early. I only got here an hour early. That was one of the options.
Y'all express our ideas about second objects?
Don't push that love.
Okay, good. Alright, so now
Attracted in.
you have thought about this object, you imagined it, you visualized it, you talked about it, you've given it a good chunk of energy and thought, feeling, okay? Probably a little too much. Now what are we gonna do? Okay? Now what I want you to do is for the rest of the day, I want you to wait for it to show up and see what happens. Okay? Now, if this shows up in your life, you can be pretty well assured that your time here is what attracted that to you. And sometimes, this is kind of like the effect of, you know when you get a new car, and then suddenly everyone's driving your new car? Okay? It's the same kind of thing here. You put your thought, your feeling into it, and it came into your life. Does anybody know why I picked something little for you guys to work on instead of something big? Anyone want to take a guess at that?
You don't have any resistance.
What's that?
You don't have any like resistance towards it, like just neutral.
Exactly, okay? So what does that mean? If it's a random object, you don't have any real big ones. Do you really care if the button doesn't show up?
No.
Is it really gonna make you upset and let you down? Maybe you'd be a little disappointed, but it's really, you're not gonna be that upset about it. So you're not putting out, like she said, any resistance or any negative energy or negative output and pushing yourself away from it. If I said, let's imagine the Powerball, probably not gonna work, okay? Because do you really expect that's gonna happen right now? No. But is it believable that, you know what, a button could show up, a butterfly could show up, a heart could show up? That's somewhat believable, okay? Now, this is why manifesting small things is often easier than manifesting big things, at least at first, okay? Because if you practice with these small things, you can start to see, oh my goodness, I'm really doing this. I'm doing this. This is working for me. And that will give you extra believability in the process and extra believability for you to actually put it towards something bigger. Okay, so one of the very first things that I recommend that people do if they're trying to use the law of attraction is use it to attract small things. Get used to doing it, okay? Now, manifesting big things is actually the same exact way as manifesting small things. By manifest, I mean create, experience in your reality. It's the same thing. You think about it, give some attention to it, and it comes to you. If you don't have any resistance or negative expectations about winning the Powerball, that little exercise right here would bring you the Powerball. Okay? It would. It works the same for big things as it does for small things. It just has everything to do with your expectation. So it's not the size that matters. It's how you feel about the size. And a lot of times when something is big, we expect that it's going to take a long time. We expect that it's going to be hard. We expect to have some disappointments and some struggles along the way. But technically, you don't have to. Okay? It's all about learning how to drop that resistance.
And that resistance, isn't that what lives in that subconscious that you were mentioning earlier? Isn't that where it is? Sometimes we have beliefs about how we don't really deserve those big things.
Yeah, you do. And in the law of attraction community, they usually call them limiting beliefs. And these are beliefs that we're carrying, like, well, you know, I'm too old to attract a husband, or, you know, I've always been broke, I'm always gonna be broke, or it's hard to get a promotion, or the good ones are always taken, or all guys are jerks, all women are, you know, something else. And you have these thoughts you're carrying these thoughts around, and sometimes you're not even aware of them. Sometimes you're aware of them, but like she said here, sometimes you're completely unaware of them. Okay? So that's kind of the trick, is figuring out where are those limiting beliefs and how do I get rid of them. Okay? That's one of the big tricks. But it doesn't have to be that hard. Okay? I'm going to explain to you why that is. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. I want to give you a step-by-step process of manifesting. It's kind of what we just did. Has anybody ever heard ask, believe, receive before? Yeah? Okay, if you watch The Secret, that's what they say. You ask, then you believe, then you receive. That's the 3-step process to attracting what you want with the law of attraction. And that's great. It's true. It works. But it doesn't explain how you're going to believe, does it? Okay, how am I going to believe? I'm going to ask, but I don't know how to believe. So I have a 4-step process here for you to hopefully help you. Okay? Step 1, what we just did. Ask, or imagine, or intent. Think about it. Visualize it in your mind. Does anybody think they know what step 2 is? Visualize. I would probably put that on step 1. Imagine, visualize, ask.
Receive?
What's that?
Receive or?
Receive, we'll put that one at the end. Put that one at the end.
Work towards it?
Work towards it.
Do something?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because you don't have to work for it. And that's something that is a limiting belief that most of us have. That if I have a goal, I have to work for it. Technically, you do not have to work for it. Why do you think the guy in Melbourne Beach won the Powerball? Did he hustle for that? No. He didn't do any work. There's no correlation between how much you work and how much you have. There's none. Okay, and this is why some people work really, really hard and have very, very little. In fact, some of the hardest workers don't have nearly enough. And then you have other people that do really nothing. And they're sitting on everything. Okay? So I'm so glad you brought that up, because work is actually something you don't have to do. Chew on that a little bit.
And that's the secret.
Okay?
That is
That's the real secret.
But you know what, the truth is, it isn't a secret, it was a promise. And then the people who accumulated all the wealth, they kept it a secret from the rest of us.
That's what they said in the movie The Secret.
So that's
some
why
people
it's
had this
important.
information and the rest of us didn't, and we were kind of on the treadmill.
Kept it from us.
And now you got it, so you're good. Okay, so for step 2, I would say, is really let go. Right now, let go. After you visualize, let it go. Now, it may be kind of hard. If you've been thinking about attracting a soulmate your whole life, and he hasn't come, it's not really easy to just stop thinking about Mr. Right, is it? Okay? But that's what you have to do. You have to let it go. Okay? Now, what that basically means is wherever you can, stop thinking about it. Whenever you can, stop talking about it. Okay? If it makes you feel a little awkward, if it's a big thing you haven't gotten yet, let it go as much as you can. Okay? The next step is here, get happy or get relief, and let your good feelings guide you. anything that you really want, I promise you, the reason that you want it is because you want it to make you happy. That's what you want. You have to emit happiness in order to grab that and pull it into your reality. So regardless of what it is that you want, if you've imagined it and visualized it, and you can find a way to get happy on a regular basis, it's gonna come to you, okay? Think about this. You ever noticed when you're happy that everything just seems like it's going great? You ever notice that? Things that used to bother you don't bother you anymore. People that tick you off, you suddenly like them. When you're in a really good mood, everything's fine. So if you can just get happy, you're gonna be feeling positively expectant, even about the things that you've been pushing out of your life and thinking that they're not gonna happen for you. If you're really, really happy, you're suddenly gonna feel optimistic. So get happy. That's your trick. Get happy. Now, getting happy isn't always easy, especially if you're really pinched off and you're feeling very low and the source isn't coming through you, okay? When you're sad, when you're down, when you're dark, when you're feeling bad, it can be really hard to reach for happy because vibrationally speaking, you're over here and you need to be over here.